Dear students, in today's topic, we are going to study how federalism is being practiced in India. In the previous uh, slide, we have studied about how federalism is being added in by our constitution for the working in India, as we know that we are exactly not a federal nation, but certain features of federalism are being added by the constitution for our government working. So we have followed the federal features, and that is being followed in a proper manner by the political working, that is our democratic political working have followed the true spirit of federalism. That means the 12 features: respect of diversity and desire to live together. So that feature is being accepted and is followed by the political leaders by our country in a proper manner. Now federal working is being written in the constitution, that is union list, state list, concurrent list. Special status is being given to the union territory. How the working will be done, that is area of jurisdiction, has been decided both for the union and the state government. And if there is a problem between the state and the union government regarding the working, so they, in that case, court act as an empire, that we have studied in the previous lecture. Now exactly whatever is being written, how we have followed it, is how federalism is being practiced. Now first thing that was being done in India after the working was started, it was the creation of linguistic states. So that is called the first test of democratic politics in India. If there is a question regarding what was the first democratic politics in India, then it is the creation of linguistic states. So linguistic states means states that are being created on the basis of the language that is spoken in that particular state. So after independence, the boundaries of several states, they were changed. People, those who were living in a area, if they were speaking the same language and they were living in the same state, so the name of the state was created according to that. Like Tamil Nadu, as Tamil language is being spoken there. West Bengal, mainly Bengali is being language is spoken there. So these states were created on the basis of the language, but not all the states were created on the basis of language, because politicians just thought that if they are going to create every state on the basis of language, it would create problem in the working. So some states were created on the basis of their culture, ethnicity, or according to the geographical location of that state, like Nagaland, Uttarakhand, Jharkhand. These two states, they are being created recently. Some political leaders, actually they were not accepting the language states being created, because according to them, new states on the basis of language, they were the demand. If the demand of every state is going to be made on the basis of language, they thought that it would disintegrate the country. But that fear was wrong, because the language state have made the government work in a proper manner. It has united the country. Administration is much easier in that manner. So that is the first way, federal way of working. It Federal way of working or federalism, it's the same thing. Now language policy. Constitution of India, as we know, that we have not given status of a national language to any language. Though in the starting Hindi was being accepted or was to be made the national language, but it has been taken back. That means the decision was taken back because only 40% of Indians they were speaking Hindi language. So non-Hindi states they were against the use of Hindi as our national language because according to our constitution the use of English was to be stopped in working in the year 1965. Hindi was to be accepted as an official language after 1965, but many non-Hindi speaking states they fear that this was an attempt to impose Hindi on them, and they demanded that the use of English should continue and their languages to be accepted also. So according to that, 22 languages are included in the 8th schedule of the constitution. Central government, uh, some of the states have their own official language. Government working is done in their own language, that is 22 languages, Hindi, English and other languages. Examinations, whenever the examinations are being held, uh, candidate they can opt for language. Papers they appear in at least two language, that is one English and the other language that is spoken in that particular state. Like if the examinations are being held in UP, the paper would be in three language, that is English, Hindi and Urdu, as Urdu is also spoken in that area. If it is going to happen in Punjab, then the paper would be in English and Punjabi and Hindi also. So the students they can opt any of the language when they are attempting the paper. So this is the working of the language in our administrative way. Now that is called the language policy that is being accepted by the government, and it also helps in the federal way of working because when Hindi was to be accepted as a language, like non-Hindi states of Tamil Nadu they were on streets, and if we had not accepted the change uh, we could have been in trouble in the same manner that happened in Sri Lanka regarding the language policy, as we have studied in the previous chapter of power sharing, that Sri Lanka has to underwent civil war because Tamil language not being accepted as an official language. So our political leaders they have shown flexibility. So if there is a question how flexible work of political parties could be noticed in our federal working, then the answer would be of language policy. Now third point is about central and state relation. In this topic, whatever the work the list is being made by the constitution, after that actually the power that is given by the constitution to the state government, is it actually been implemented? Do states really have the power to work, or is it that central is exercising its importance or its pressure on the state? So restructuring the central and the state relation is more way in federalism has been strengthened in practice. So, central state relation has changed a lot in the last 70 years. The power that was demarcated in the constitution, it was been written in the constitution, but the state influenced the center influenced the states in many ways. If the central government is of Congress and rest of the Maharashtra is having BJP government, then the central government used to dismiss the state government ruled by the rival parties. They try to misuse the constitution. That means they try to misuse the power that was given to the central by the constitution. It was happening till 1990. If the central government is of different party and the state government is of a different party, then the state government used to suffer a lot, and this continued till 1990. But after 1990, it was the beginning of an era of coalition government. New era means new working came into being, and that was because of coalition government at the center. It changed the scenario. That means the scene was changed. The working that we were experiencing after independence till 1990, it completely changed because of coalition government. So since then, no single party got really majority in Lok Sabha. So as the parties were not able to have the majority in Lok Sabha, major parties they enter into alliance with other regional party. So they enter into alliance means they started working with other regional parties. Regional means one region, small region. That means state government, smaller parties. They are called regional parties. So they entered into alliance that they are going to work together, and that alliance is being made before election. So that is called, now that's we NDA that we knew from recent years, UPA and NDA. So they form a government at the center. So coalition government is being framed at the center. New culture of power sharing and respect for the autonomy of the state government is possible just because of the coalition government that is made in the center. Because in this scenario, whatever parties, regional parties, they are in alliance with the bigger party. So the bigger party has to accept whatever the terms and conditions are of regional parties. So in this way, they have to respect the autonomy means the working of the state government is being accepted. Now the state government, they have a voice in representing their ideas, their problems. Now the center government has to listen to the problems of the state government so that they could properly work in the center, because they are having alliance with that particular state, some smaller party. Besides the coalition government or the change in the scenario, one more thing that is being done is Supreme Court has made it difficult for the central government to dismiss the state government in an arbitrary manner. Now previously, when the central government was removing the state government by a vote of confidence, or the state government has to uh, give up, or they have to uh, uh, when they are not able to show the majority in the house when the meetings, legislative meetings are being held. So now central government could not dismiss state government that is being ensured by the Supreme Court. That means Supreme Court is now checking into the working of the central and the state government working. So if there's a question that is there a change in the working of the central and the state government in today's scenario as compared to the working after independence, so yes, there is a change in the working of the central and the state. The relationship has improved in the recent years. So these three working, that is the linguistic making of the linguistic state, following of the language policy, central and state relation, changes in the working of the central and state. So these 3 points, they describe that the federalism is being practiced in a proper manner in India because of the democratic setup of India is good. Now, the last topic of this chapter is decentralization in India. Now, decentralization, that means D means division of central work, that is centralization, central working system. So when the work of the center or the power of the center is taken from it and it is further given to the lower subordinate working, it is called decentralization. So in the starting, our country was provided two tier system. Third tier system was there, but it was not written in the constitution. So for a big country like India, with us with such a diversity, tier system was not sufficient. Some states, they are such a large in population and in area that as we compare it with the European countries, so federal power sharing, they needed more tier, that means they needed one more division of work or some other more divisions of work. So the central and the state government, they framed one more government, that is local government, for the proper working of the country. So when the power is taken away from the central and the state government, it is called decentralization. That means centralization working is being divided for the decentralization. Now, the basic idea, if we are going to, I'm going to ask you, what is the basic idea behind the decentralization? So main idea was that a large number of problems are there. There are so many issues which can be solved in a better manner if I am going to solve it at the lower level, that is the local level. People, they have better idea of their problems. They know what are our problems because they are living among us. So they can solve our problems in a proper manner. They can manage, we can contact them easily, they can spend money and all those things because they are among us. So local government was being framed to solve the basic problems, that is the main smaller problems, they could be solved at the lower level. It is not necessary uh, to solve them at the upper level because it was not possible. So people have a importance, that means what is the advantage. So first advantage is that the person, those who are living us with us, they know how to solve our problem, they know how to manage. Now second point is people have a direct participation in decision making just because of local government. So direct participation, as people are managing their own things, that is possible because of local government. So that is the second advantage. Beside this, it reduces the burden of the central and the state government. Now central government can solve the bigger problems in an easy manner because local problems are being solved at the lower level. So focus has changed and the burden has removed from the central and the state government. It also has given power to women because in local government, as we know, and we are going to study later, that one third reservation is being provided at the local government to the women. So these are the advantages of decentralization that happened in India. The decentralization, it came into being after the constitution was amended in the year 1992. So it made the third tier, that is the local government, more powerful, more effective. More provisions were being given to the local government after the amendment. So it was a major step. If I am going to ask you when did decentralization happen in India, so actually when it was amended by the constitution in 1992, it is the year when decentralization actually happened. Now local government is actually, what is local government? The third tier, that is panchayat in the village, municipalities in the urban area, that is the main setup of the local government. So these are the parts of local government. That means local government is happening not only in the villages but also in the cities. So city, it's the working of the municipalities. In villages, it is the working of the panchayats. Now the elections, they are held regularly. Power is being given in a proper manner by the state government to the local government after the constitution amendment. Now benefit of constitution amendment, or what actually happened after the amendment was being made in the constitution in 1992. So the point number 1, it is now mandatory to hold regular election. Now mandatory means it is compulsory. Previously local government was being framed but regular elections were not being held. In some states they were doing it in proper manner, but all the state governments, they were not working in a proper manner regarding the local government. So after the amendment, it is now mandatory to hold regular elections. Second, now the seats are also being reserved in the elected bodies. That means whoever the person is going to be elected, there is a reservation. Whoever is going to be executive head, these institutions for the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and other backward classes, and also women. Now one third seats are being reserved for women of all the positions. That means whatever position is there, if the local government elections are being held, one third seats are reserved for the women. One third means 33%, 100 out of 100, 33% are women. So because of that, women, they are now having their voice, the power is being provided to them. So it led to the women empowerment at the local level. Now state election commission has been created to control the local government. That means state election commissions are created in each state to conduct the panchayat and municipal elections. The same manner, election commission is responsible for the Lok Sabha and state elections. In the same manner, state election commission is controlling the local uh, elections. So local government elections are controlled by state election commissions. Now let's study about the panchayat raj, that is the villages. As we know that most population of India is about 70% population is living in villages. So Panchayat Raj system, local government sometimes is also called Panchayat Raj system. So if there is a question regarding why local government is also called Panchayat Raj, so it is because most of the population is living in villages. So rural local government, each village or a group of village in some states have Gram Panchayat. Now we are discussing the division of Panchayat. So first part, lower part. We are moving from lower to upper. So first thing is Gram Panchayat. Gram Panchayat it consists of, it is a council that consists of ward members. Ward members means an, a village is a ward and it is having ward members. So ward members, they are called, one person is elected, that is Panch, and then they are having a president that is known as Sarpanch. Now they are directly elected by adult population of that ward, of that area or of that village, and work under the supervision of Gram Sabha. So Gram Panchayat, it works under Gram Sabha. So Gram Sabha is the second step. Gram Sabha, it has meetings at least twice or three times a year. They approve annual budget. They review the performance of the Gram Panchayats, whatever the Gram Panchayat is doing, whether they are working in a proper manner, that is being checked. Review means that is their working is being checked at the meeting that is held, and that meeting is called Gram Sabha. Now Gram Panchayats, they are grouped together to form Panchayat Samiti. So third step is Panchayat Samiti or the block or the mandal. Members of Panchayat Samiti or mandal, they are elected by all the Panchayat members in that area. That means Panchayat member, they select the mandal members or Panchayat Samiti's member. Now all Panchayat Samiti in a district, they together constitute a Zilla Parishad. So Zilla Parishad is made up of Panchayat Samitis. So third, that's fourth step. So most members of Zilla Parishads, they are elected MLA of that district or members of the Lok Sabha. They could be the officers or the other district level bodies. They are all its members. So they are the members of Zilla Parishad, and the head of the Zilla Parishad is Zilla Parishad chairperson. In municipalities, the municipalities, they work in the bigger cities. The municipal corporations are there. So in big cities, they are called municipal corporations. In small cities, they are called municipalities. So both of them are the local government bodies. They are controlled by the elected bodies consisting of people's representatives. Municipal chairperson is the political head of the municipality, and mayor is the political head of the municipal corporation. So municipal chairperson is the person who is having the meetings, who is checking the working of the municipality. So he is the political head who is holding the meetings, and mayor is the political head. That means actual power is in the hand of mayor, who is checking the working. The work is being checked by the mayor, and meetings are being checked by the municipal chairperson. So this is the largest, the both local government consisting of panchayat and uh, municipalities, both consist, if we are combining both of them, then we are having in India largest local government set up anywhere in the world. There is no country who is having such a large elected representatives at the local government. About 36 lakh representatives are there in India in panchayat and municipalities, and that is more than the population of a country. So municipalities as the women representatives, they have increased in this level about one third. It has increased women voice in the democracy. They are being empowered because of this representation at the local government. Constitutional status for local government has helped to deepen our democracy also at the root level. That means at the lower level, participation of the people has resulted in the deepening of the democracy. That means at the root level we are having a democratic way of working. That means voice of the people is being accepted because of the local government. So that is also the second advantage of local government. So this is the advantage. What I am discussing is the advantage. That means the representation is such a is of large number. Second, women representation has also increased. That resulted in the empowerment of women. Local government has resulted in the deepening of the democracy, and but there are certain drawbacks also. Even though we know that the elections are held regularly, meetings are not being held regularly. There meeting If the meetings are not held regularly, that means they are not reviewing exactly what is happening in the gram panchayat. But this problem is not in every state. It is working in a proper manner. Some states In some states local government is working proper manner. They are having regular meetings are held, but it is not happening in each and every state. Second drawback is that most state government, they have not transferred significant power or resources to the local government. Even though the work is being power is being given to the local government, but some state government are not giving that power to the local government that should be given to them. So because of that, still we are a long way from realizing the ideal of self government. If the local government is happening and is working in a proper manner throughout the country, then the idea of self government would be implemented in India. Now, beside this, I'm just going to discuss two things, that is women reservation bill. uh, the reservation of women in local government has been implemented by the constitution, but the same implementation is not being done at the central level and the state level. So women reservation bill, that means one third reservation should be there in all seats of Lok Sabha and state legislative assembly. This bill is not being accepted by the parliament and by the state governments. They are still in the constitution, and if it is being passed, it would provide more women participation in politics and in society, and it would increase opportunity for women in all respect. So it is not being considered. Now second example that is written, and that is also necessary to study, and it is a part that is coming in examination. That is an example of Brazil. In Brazil, an experiment is being carried out, and it is an extraordinary experiment. It combines decentralization with participative democracy. Now, what is participative democracy? I am discussing it. Decentralization we have studied. So, Brazil, a city called Porto Alegre, in that area, in that city, they have set up a parallel organization that is operating along with municipal council. So in that parallel working or parallel organization, It enables local inhabitants to take real decisions for their city. The city is divided into various sectors and wards, as we have that division in the local government. Each sector has a meeting, same way that is happening in the Gram Sabha, in which everyone living in that area can participate in that meeting. There are some meetings to discuss the issues that affect the entire city. Any citizen of the city, they can participate in those meetings. Now the budget of the city, it is discussed in the meeting. Then they make proposals. Actually they are just making proposals to the municipalities that takes a final decision about it. So parallel government is working there. It is just checking exactly what municipalities are doing. If they are not doing anything, or they are there certain things are to be added, they are having meetings, discussions are being held, and then they make a proposal to the municipalities. So in this way, about 20,000 people, they participate in the discussion exercise every year. And this method, it ensures that money is not being spent for the benefit of the rich people only. The money is also spent on the poor persons also. And one more thing, that builders, they cannot evict, means they cannot make the slum dwellers to leave that place without resettling them. That means if a slum is being uh, emptied, or the slum persons are removed from that area, before that they have to be resettled somewhere else, only then the area can be evacuated or evicted. Same thing, that means the example of participative or parallel government that is experienced in Brazil, it is being done in some area of Kerala. Ordinary people, they are participating in making a plan for the development of their locality. So this chapter of federalism is being completed. There are certain questions in your NCERT book that you have to follow only. Whatever the questions are written in the chapter, you just go through them. We have discussed it, and in the question answers at the end of the chapter, they are the main part of examinations. So you don't have to do some other questions beside these. Okay, thank you so much.